Hello, I'm Saptarshi Bhattacharjee, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Ramanuj Gupta Degree College. I'm going to talk to you about the syllabus of English Honors, means if you take up English Honors as your subject, what are the things that you are going to study in this 3 years degree course. I'm also going to talk to you about the very first unit, okay? A little bit about the very first unit that you are going to study if you take up English honors, okay? So this whole syllabus, this whole CBCS syllabus for English honors is a bit extensive one, but is also a very interesting one because it contains everything. It's a wide-ranging syllabus that includes British literature from 14th century, okay, and it is also compensated with Indian literature, American literature, Greek classical epics, okay, modern British modern theater, um, Indian classics, okay. So I'm just going to discuss that what are the different papers that you are going to study throughout this 3 years degree course, okay. Of course you don't have all the papers in one semester. It is divided throughout the 6 semesters that you will go through in a 3 years degree course, okay. So in the very first semester, you will start with British literature or British poetry, that is British poetry and drama from 14th century, okay, from 14th century. And then you will have, as you go on with your semesters, you will have British poetry from 17th and 18th century, British poetry from 19th century, British poetry and British literature. I'm just talking about poetry, but it's British literature from 20th century, that is modernism, okay. So you will get various ideas about Renaissance. You will get ideas about the Victorian period. You will get ideas about the British Romantic period, okay, modern period, that is in 20th century, okay. Apart from the British literature, we are also going to go through papers like Indian literature. You will have poems and novels and dramas from various renowned Indian writers, Indian authors. You will have Indian classical paper, which will include many of the translation texts from classical epics, okay. You will have translations from Mahabharat, for example, okay. Then you have American literature, where you will study literary works from many renowned and critically acclaimed American writers, okay. Apart from that, there are separate papers which will include modern European drama, okay, which will include dramas from the Norwegian dramatists, okay, Russian dramatists, although Russian dramatists does not include in Europe, but then again British dramatists, okay. So you will have a paper on that. Then you will have a paper on post-colonial literature, a separate paper on post-colonial literature, which you will get in 6th semester. And you have another very interesting paper, popular literature, which will include novels like Harry Potter, okay, Harry Potter and other interesting works on other interesting popular literary works, okay. So it's a quite wide ranging syllabus which will include traditional British literature, as I said, starting from 14th century, okay. And as you go forward with your semesters, you will come across many such interesting papers, ranging from modern British literature to Indian literature to Indian classics, okay, Indian epics, Greek epics, okay, and popular literature. So that is your whole syllabus for this course of CBCS TDC 3 years degree course CBCS, if you take English honors. Now, when you get accommodated into English honors, the English honors as a subject, okay, the very first thing, it starts, as I said, from 14th century, okay. Fortunately or unfortunately, the previous syllabus had English literature before that, before 14th century, right from the start at 1066 AD. Of course, I'll be talking about things which might seem very uncommon, but as you go, means if you are going through English literature, if you are going through the history of English literature, it will make sense. So 1066, okay, 1066 AD, what happened was, this French, okay, the Normans invaded England, okay, and for 300 years England was under the French rule, okay. The Norman conquest, which happened in 1066 AD, and for 300 years, from 1066 AD to say the 14th century, okay, from 1411 to 14th century, around 300 years the French ruled the British. And as a result, what happened was that most of the educated class in Britain, okay, their mindset changed into a certain context where using English language, okay, seemed very outdated, because English became the language of the common working class people, okay, because at that time the class system in Britain was a huge issue, because there were these landlords, okay, this feudal system where there was landlords, and then you have this working class, okay, the working class people, and of course the peasants. When I say working class, peasants, okay. So for the feudal, for the aristocracy, the who were associated with either the church or the palace, not palace, the court, the royal court, they use the language French or Latin. Church, for church it was mostly Latin, and for the royal court, okay, the king's place, it was, means people associated with aristocracy, it was French. Means mostly poems were written, poems and other important literary works were written in the language of the Normans, that is French, and church mostly used Latin for their religious purposes. Now, in the very first unit, in the first paper that you will encounter in first semester, you will get you'll come across a poet called Geoffrey Chaucer, okay. And why Geoffrey Chaucer is important, you have to understand that Geoffrey Chaucer has been called, very rightly called, the father of English literature, and there is a very justifiable reason for that, okay, because as I just said, that in the time of Chaucer, say we are talking about 14th century, okay, 300 years after the Norman conquest, okay, French became the official language. French became the official language of England, okay. Means all the political works, all the works, means literary works that talk about entertainment, okay, like poems. Not just entertainment here is the wrong word, but artistic production of literature, say poems, were only written in French, okay, because English was only considered to be a common man's language, okay, common man's language. It was not regarded at that time a very artistic and a very poetic kind of a language. So Geoffrey Chaucer comes in this scene, okay, and writing his magnum opus, okay, his greatest work, as or if not the greatest, one of his greatest works, as claimed by the critics, okay, the Canterbury Tales, okay. You don't have Canterbury Tales for your syllabus, but Canterbury Tales is the magnum opus of Geoffrey Chaucer. Of course, he could not complete it, okay. He passed away, he died before completing it. It was a huge work. He died before the work saw its end. So what happened was that Geoffrey Chaucer used the common English language, means the language of the common people, okay, and he used that language to write his poetic work, okay. Means the Canterbury Tales, and before that you have the Prologue, means introduction to the Canterbury Tales, which you have in your syllabus, okay. Although you don't have the entire prologue, you just have two parts. Two means the prologue is consisting of a long poem, which is again divided into 30 or some parts, okay. And you only have two parts, means only two poems, okay, which describes two different characters. I'll come to that in a bit. So what happens is he used the common man's language, that is medieval English, okay, and used it to write his magnum opus, Canterbury Tales, and the prologue to the Canterbury Tales. Okay, so you have only in your syllabus the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, which only has, for your syllabus, which only has only 2 poems. In the previous syllabus it was 5 poems. In this CBCS you only have 2 poems which talk about only two characters. Okay, these two characters are very different. How they are described by Chaucer, these two characters are very different. Okay, before I come to the description of the characters, let me just talk about why it was necessitated by Chaucer to write about these characters. Now, let me talk about Canterbury Tales. What was Canterbury Tales? Canterbury is a place in England. Okay, Canterbury is a place in England where there is a shrine, there is a holy place, there is a temple of one saint. Okay, in Christianity, one saint. He is called Saint Thomas Becket. Okay, in Canterbury there is this Saint Thomas Becket. Means there is this temple, there is this shrine. Okay, Thomas Becket was killed by some soldiers and he was sainted and he attained sainthood, and there was this shrine where people visit to get some kind of, means people go for a pilgrimage, okay, to get some kind of blessings. So 30 odd people gathered together in a inn. Inn means a small kind of a hotel in those days, INN, inn. And these 30 people planned to go to Canterbury by horse. Of course, in those days, they did not have fast modes of travel. No cars, no buses, no trains. Okay, and absolutely no aeroplanes. So in those time, people used to travel through horses, and it was a long day's journey. Okay, it was a long day's journey. So how to pass the time? These 30 people traveling together to St. Thomas's shrine, how to pass the time? So they came up with an idea that let's just tell each other stories. So there were 30 people, okay, and they will tell, each of them will tell 2 stories while going to the shrine, okay, going to Canterbury, and while coming back from Canterbury to London, they will again tell 2 stories. So 4 stories each, okay, 4 stories each. Okay, 30 people into 4, so you have 120 stories. That was the ambitious plan of Geoffrey Chaucer's, to write 120 different stories, each from 4 from each characters. Okay, however, Chaucer could not complete this work. He died before completion of this work. He just wrote, I guess, 84 poems. Okay, so that was the whole point of Canterbury Tales, which you do not have in your syllabus. What you have in your syllabus is the prologue to the Canterbury Tales. That is an introduction to the Canterbury Tales. Okay, now what is this introduction? This introduction is, you can say, he is introducing the characters, the different characters. Okay, he is introducing the different characters that you will meet throughout when you read the Canterbury Tales. Means when you go through Canterbury Tales, you will meet these characters. So in the prologue, he is introducing you to all these 30 characters. And no, of course, not 30 characters. There are 29 characters, but the narrator, the person who is narrating, he is also another pilgrim who is going to Canterbury. So including the narrator, it's 30. Okay, so it's actually 29 pilgrims, and including the narrator, it's 30 pilgrims. In your syllabus, you have the Knight and the Prioress. Okay, a knight, Knight. Knight means a soldier of higher rank. Okay, a knight means knighthood. Okay, knight means everybody cannot become a knight. To become a knight, you either have to show feats in battle, show means excellent performance in a battle, or you have to come from a noble bloodline. Okay, so everybody and anybody cannot become a knight. For knight, you have to have some special qualities. And then there is a prioress. Prioress means a head priestess. Okay, head priestess of a church. Okay, a lady. Okay, head priestess of a church. So these are the 2 characters you have in your syllabus. Now, why these 2 characters? These 2 specific, out of 30 characters or 29 characters, why do you have these 2? Because knight is very important. Because knight is, means amongst all the 30 characters, knight by rank of, remember 14th century England is a very casteist kind of a place, very casteist kind of a uh, country at that time, 14th century. So I'm saying casteist, but it's actually nothing to do with caste. It's just where people are born. Okay, there is this aristocracy, there is this peasants. Okay, it's we say caste in different matter, but I might be wrong when I say casteist, but it is not caste. It's you can say that the people, the rank of the people, the social standing of the people is very important. Okay, or was very important in the 14th century England. So this knight was, when you go by social positioning, the knight stands at the highest out of all the 30 pilgrims. Okay, the knight is the highest. Okay, and the way the knight is described, you understand, you get the idea that the knight, the character of the knight is flawless. He is a genuine knight. Chaucer very clearly states in his poem that the knight is a genuine knight, means he is full of courtesy. Okay, full of courtesy. He's shy, he is not boastful, even his clothes are very basic. Okay, he's wearing very basic clothes, nothing to show off. Since he comes from the aristocracy, he can just wear any kind of gilded clothes, any kind of clothes that are decorated with ornaments and jewelries. Okay, but this is not the case with the knight. He's wearing very ordinary clothes. Okay, and Chaucer does not fail to mention that he has just come from another battle. Okay, another battle, and his dress was that very dress that he was wearing in the battle. He didn't even care to change his clothes. Okay, he was so simple and very down to earth. And another fact of that knight is that the knight was a very brave one. He has traveled all around the world, if not the world, all around Europe and beyond Europe. He has traveled to Africa. And travel means what? It's not for a vacation. Okay, travel means he has battled. Okay, he has battled in many lands. He has battled all around Europe. He has battled for religion at least 3 times. He has battled in Africa. Okay, also in parts of Russia. And apart from battling all around the world, he has also provided service to many lords. Okay, lords means many dukes, or the people who are just below the king, many aristocrats. Okay, he has lent his service, means you get the idea that he's a mercenary. He also offers his services as a soldier if you pay him. Okay, and he has also fought in the navy. He has also led expeditions on the sea. Okay, all these are described. And after traveling far and wide, okay, after achieving lots of feats in his lifetime, he is still a very humble person. His clothes is humble, his horse is humble, even his behavior to the other people is humble. Okay, he has not even uttered any rude or arrogant words in his lifetime to anyone. So much so that Chaucer kind of describes him as a person who is as shy as a little girl. Okay, and he is very brave at war. He because Chaucer mentions that he always makes sure that he kills his enemies. Okay, so he is that brutal, that ruthless. But the contrast to his character is that despite being brutal and ruthless in a battle, he is in society, when he is out with other people, socializing with other people, he is as polite. Okay, and sometimes he is as shy as a little girl. Okay, so you see, he is the perfect knight. Okay, there is no flaws in his character. At the same time, when you take the prioress, there is this different approach from the narrator or the poet Chaucer. Okay, the narrator who describes the prioress says, of course, it's all in a humorous mind. Okay, there a lot of satire has been used, lot of ironies has been used when he is describing the prioress. And remember, no satire, no irony has been used in describing the knight. The prioress has been described with immense humor, okay, subtle humor, and at the same time, there is this kind of polite irony or polite satire that has been used to show the hypocrisy of church. Okay, when I say church, means church of the 14th century. Okay, because church at that time was very powerful. They had all the wealth, they had all the power, because even the kings were under the rule of church. Okay, if the church decided something, the kings had to follow, the kings or queens had to follow. But enjoying all this power has made the church or the religious people in those times, okay, or the ecclesiastical characters, ecclesiastical means religious characters, very hypocritical. Because see, the prioress has been described as a person, okay, who even though belongs to the church, but had more fascination towards the courtly ways. Courtly ways means how the ladies behaved in a king's palace, for example. Okay, how they behaved in society, wearing gilded clothes, wearing very ornamented clothes, okay, wearing jewelries, okay, and then having elaborate table manners, how to eat, okay. And she's English by birth, by blood, and she is desperately trying, this priestess, okay, whom the narrator describes as that she is desperately trying to be a French, means she tries to sing her hymns, the religious hymns, in a tone that is French, or in a language that you could easily understand that it's not actual French, but she's trying to give an French accent. Okay, and you see that one of the very important characteristics, means humorous but satirical characteristics of this character, is that she has many pets, okay, especially dogs, and she feeds these dogs with very high quality food. Okay, say she feeds them with roasted, that's what Chaucer says, roasted meat and milk and high quality bread, wastel bread. That is, wastel bread, as mentioned by Chaucer, is a very high quality bread. And she feeds them at a time when in 14th century England, the common people, the majority of people were finding themselves in a position where they cannot afford 2 times meal properly. Okay, people were famished, people were hungry most of the time, and in that situation where she being a religious character should help those people, she is using high quality food to feed her pets. Okay, and the Chaucer say, and this narrator says that it is no surprise that she has she has so much pity, but her pity and sympathy does not lie for human beings. She cries, that's what the narrator says, she cries if somebody beats one of her dogs, okay, or if she sees a rat, okay, a mouse, or a rat or a mouse killed on a rat trap. Somebody has trapped a mouse and killed it. Okay, she cries profusely when she sees a mouse or a rat dying, or somebody has kicked one of her dogs or hit one of her dogs, but she doesn't shed a tear for the sufferings of human being. So you see the difference. A knight who is perfect, who is kind of serving his country, serving his religion, okay, he going on crusades, fighting for his religion, and you take this prioress who is more self-centered. Okay, she wears very very tailored, highly modified and tailored clothes. Okay, she also wears a gold bracelet. Okay, she has elaborate table manners so that she behaves like a lady of the higher class of the society. Okay, like an aristocrat. She tries to, even though she is English, she tries to behave like a French lady, because French was or French were the people who were ruling England at that time. Okay, she was trying to be one of those ladies who went to the court and not the church. So this is the difference that Chaucer is showing, and through these two characters, you can very well understand through the description of two different sides of different sides of these two characters. You get the idea that Chaucer is showing you a reflection of the 14th century English society. It's a reflection. Okay, Chaucer is showing you a picture of how it was in, or yes, how it was in 14th century England, or how people behaved, how the church was acting like pure hypocrites. Okay, they show that they are for their religion serving mankind, but they were actually serving themselves. Okay, that was what Chaucer was showing. I'm talking about 14th century England. Okay, 14th century England, where church was much more powerful, even from the monarchy, even compared to the monarchy. The church was behaving as though they cared for people, but in reality they did not care for people, they cared for themselves. That is shown by the character of Prioress. Of course there are other characters who show the same thing. You have the monk, you have the friar, they show the same thing. But Chaucer shows this. You have this elaborate presentation of misrepresentation of the church, or the ideals of the church through this character Prioress. However, all the ideals are fulfilled, okay, genuinely by the knight. Okay, so this is what Chaucer's these two poems, okay, Geoffrey Chaucer's The Knight and the Prioress, give you an idea, a reflection of the 14th century England. Okay, and it goes on from there. There are other poets who took inspiration from Chaucer, starting to write in their own colloquial language, means language that was used by the common people. Okay, means commonly used, the language that was commonly used in England, that was medieval English. And it started on, it ignited a spark that went on throughout Renaissance, because in Renaissance lots of poets came up with their inspiration from Italian and French poets. Okay, there was this birth of new knowledge. Okay, then you go into Shakespeare, who is a different entity altogether when it comes to reshaping the language, English, that is. Okay, he reshaped the language, included many words of his own. Okay, coined many words of his own, and it goes on. So this is what we are going to study in the very first semester. From this paper at least, we are going to study the British literature, poetry and drama especially, from 14th century. Okay, so I've been Saptarshi Bhattacharjee, Assistant Professor, Department of English.